And good morning. Thank you for joining me today. It is Monday, July 31st. It's Monday Musings with Ramsey Bergeron. I appreciate you. Man, what a weekend. What did you guys do? Let me know if you did anything fun. Put it in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. Today, I want to talk about fear. And I know I've talked about fear in the past, but I've talked in the past about fear of the future. I want to talk about the fear of letting things go. Too often there are things that we hold on to, either patterns, behaviors, people that we that don't serve us anymore. And we're why is that? What do we do about that? Even if the situation is bad for us, even if the situation is not good for us, we still hold on to it. So why? I mean, otherwise, no one would be in a job they hate. No one would be in a toxic relationship. Um, and it comes down to what's familiar. We develop a false sense of security with something that doesn't serve us. And we fear what we don't know, because if all we know tends to be chaos, we tend to seek it out. Like, not consciously. It's not something that we want to go do, but it's just ingrained in us. Whenever we find ourselves in these patterns, we're like, why do I keep doing this? And then we tend to want to blame the world or external circumstances. Like, why does this always happen to me? Why am I here? Why am I feeling this? And we never really analyze our part in this, that we're either subconsciously drawn to it or seeking it out. Because we think the future might be worse. We think that a different situation could be worse than the one I have. And usually it goes back to something that we had in childhood. You got to think about your early caregivers. What environment did you grow up in? Did you grow up in a chaotic environment? Did you grow up in an environment where you weren't able to express emotion? Did you grow up in an environment where your emotions didn't matter because you were a caretaker for your parents? Or your parents didn't know how to connect and communicate with you? Now, I want to preface that whenever I talk about this, I'm not blaming parents. There's no manual on how to raise children. But even though it's not their fault, it's our job, it's our responsibility as adults to be aware of that and to break the cycle, unless we're doomed to repeat it otherwise. And it may not matter to you if you don't repeat it or not, but then what if you want to have children? How much of this pattern are you repeating to your kids? And then the people that are around you in your life. So this fear of letting go of things, it can lead to complacency, where it's like, well, this is just where I am. This is my situation. And I've worked with people in the past who've been in situations where they're in unhappy relationships. And it's kind of like they would rather ride out the clock. They would rather spend the next 40, 50 years miserable, just a low level of misery, than experience the discomfort of just letting go. Why is that? I guess because I've already explained it. It's because it's what we know. It feels, I don't want to say it feels calm, but it feels normal, even though normal is chaos. So what happens if we continue to hold on to situations like that? First thing is, we're stuck. It prevents us from real growth if we don't choose to let go of people, or even just patterns. Are there patterns? Are there coping mechanisms? Are you turning to substances? Are you turning to food? What are you doing to numb, to not let go of the things that aren't serving you? It takes a toll. It takes a toll on you mentally. Takes a toll on you physically. Chronic stress, anxiety, helplessness, all because of fear of what could be different. And when you think about it logically like that, it really seems kind of insane that you'd rather be in a situation that hurts you because it's familiar, because it's what you know, versus something that you don't. And over time, I mean, it shoots your self-esteem. And I used to do this for years in bad relationships. So letting go is a process like that requires courage and determination. And how do we let go? How do you let go of the fear of something different? The first thing you got to do is acknowledge it. Just you got to be aware that you're afraid. Because if you don't acknowledge it, you're building it up in your head like, oh my gosh. So okay, this is fear right now preventing me. What's keeping me here is this fear. And once you understand that, one of the things I help with my clients do is to understand, okay, where is this in my body? All right, feeling the heaviness in my chest, my heart rate's going faster. Um, and then you can start to calm it down just by doing that. And then honestly reflect on the situation. See how is what I'm not letting go of affecting my life? How is this affecting my mental health, my emotional health, my financial health? Visualize a positive outcome. And I think this is the most important step because so many people, the fear, they start catastrophizing. So because they stay in a bad situation because the fear of what else there could be, oh, well, that's worse. I could end up being alone. Well, is that really worse? Is the fear of stopping using food as your coping mechanism is the worst thing to actually feel the feeling you're trying to avoid? Is the worst thing if you cut back on alcohol, just the anxiety that you feel? Like, is it this is what I love about my class, what I love what the meditations taught me is that no feeling lasts forever. And if you can just sit with that discomfort, you can recognize that and say, okay, well, what's the real cause of this? So once you can do that and start to visualize positive outcomes, like, okay, well, the future is unknown. What could happen? You stop abusing substances, food, or alcohol. You could end up feeling physically great, living longer, having more energy, being able to play with your kids. If you let go of a toxic situation, maybe you can find happiness within yourself. Maybe you can find happiness in another relationship. But more importantly, with yourself, like just learn to be happy. Another thing you can do if you're feeling letting go is seek support. Like I'm starting a group for men to just where we can bond and help teach and learn from each other the tools. And that's what I'm doing in my Living with Purpose class right now. Last week we talked about goal setting and the future and how the things that people were saying in class was, man, this is hard. Because when we're on autopilot, it's okay, well, we're just going through the motions. We don't have to think about what is it intentionally that I want? And then what's keeping me from getting there? And take small steps, like be kind to yourself in this process. So cultivating self-compassion, like realizing that what you're doing to change your patterns it feels like we're changing who we are in that. And that can be discomforting because we identify with what we do. Well, if it feels good or familiar, we do. If it's something we do that's bad, like, well, that's not who I am. I would never do that, but you did it. So how much is fear keeping you stuck in these patterns? I promise you, letting go will provide so much freedom. So a little bit shorter of a talk today, but just talking about don't be stuck. Like, and I know it's easier to say don't be stuck. And this, I'm catching myself listening to the words I'm using. Instead of being worried about what you can't let go of, focus on what you want to gain. Focus on the future. Focus on what you have going well in your life. Focus on what you want. See how that feels. Because if you're always focused on what's going wrong or what you don't want or what all this negativity, you're going to attract more negativity into your life. So focus on what do you want out of life? What do you want for your health? What do you want for your work? What do you want for your relationships? What do you want to have? And what are you doing to get there? So thank you for listening. Let me know in the chat, what is your biggest takeaway from the shorter session today? I appreciate you and have a great rest of your week.